Okay, we got the bushings fit now. So I went ahead and opened up this just a little bit more here on this one, just to make sure it's just a little bit more clearance. Still pretty damn tight. So you can hear it rattling a little bit now. Just rotate it this way. Don't have much clearance. So pretty snug. It's probably only about a half, 3/4 thou on that one at least. Okay, and on the camera, this one here now. Got it to go in. Still air binds a little bit, but you can hear you got a little side to side movement now. Just a little bit. Spins free, obviously. The key is when you push it down and try to slide it back and forth. No noise, see? It's quiet. So there's no side to side that way. You only got this much here top to bottom because it's real straight. So still, the air still holds it, so it's pretty good. So those are the bushings look like, all clean or reamed. So now I can clean everything all up, and we'll do a test fit, see how this stuff fits assembled, and then we'll take it apart, goop up the case, and put them together for real. And I still got to make the tube that goes in here yet, so we're about that part tomorrow. So right now I'm going to clean all this stuff up, and we'll be back and see if we get a fitting up here before night's over. Okay, I got everything all kind of cleaned up here. So working on my case bolt here. Just a factory small head, which is a 1/2 inch hex head on a 3/8 coarse bolt. Just a regular coarse bolt. Got the 9/16 set on it. So, excuse me. So what I want to do, I want to get a longer bolt. So you can see how this is 1/2 inch longer. So that way I get more threads on this bolt right here. Because the way this case is made, on these 65 to 69 cases, this height here, which is standard on all the other cases, this one here is taller by quite a bit of distance. So when you put the bolt in there, instead of getting a good amount of, a good 1/2 inch of thread like you want to see, 1/2 to 5/8, basically get 2 diameters what you want. This is 3/8 bolt, 2 diameters 3/4 of an inch. That's how much you should have in there to get full power. You definitely want to be at least 1.5 diameters. So this one here, you can see how it's barely even 1 diameter sticking up at most. So it's way too short. So I went ahead and put this big long one in here. Now we're getting a good 3/4 of an inch of hangout in there. The other bolts only got this much. We got this much. So. But I have to go to the larger head, which is not quite right, but oh well. So I had to tap this hole a little bit deeper because I was about a 1/16 of an inch short. It was bottoming out, even though it looked like it was deep enough. So now you put the case together. You want to do a trial fit to make sure things line up. So that bolt started. So what you want to do is we're going to run a washer in this bolt head. So what you want to do is take the washer out. So that's your minimum clearance you're going to have. If the bolt tightens up against the case, you know you got at least that much of a washer. Before it wouldn't tighten up. Now it's all the way down now. So now we know when we put this washer in there, we're not going to be bottomed out. Right now it could be bottomed out, we just don't know it. It hit equally. I've had that happen. But you know for a fact, if you come up, an extra 50 thou of this right there, you definitely got clearance. That's how you always double check everything. Everything you do on these bikes is double check, double check. So now you just make sure you don't mix up your 2 bolts. Obviously they're a little bit different. And these are nice little small AN washers, Army Navy. And they're made for Allen bolts. See how small diameter on the hex? So the hex just barely, the washer is just right there with the hex diameter. So it looks real clean. You don't have a big fat washer hanging out. But it protects the case from galling up on the side when you're torquing them down. So that's why you put them in there. Oh, that's the right bolt. So this one we're not using now. So I had to make sure I brought both bolts so I knew what they were. So I wound up using a 3 3/4 inch bolt instead of a 3.5 or 3 1/4. That's why you stock every bolt they make, so when you need one, you have it. You notice I stock more than one, but you probably need 2 or 3 when you need one. Okay, so this is fitted. We know this all works, so now we can take this apart. Get everything all cleaned up. I got to relube the bearing, and it got kind of cleaned a little bit. I didn't clean all this stuff, the oil out, but still mostly out. This I did 100% clean on, so it's all good to go. Okay, so we're going to put this on the holding fixture over there. Yeah, right over that area. Crank's already been rebuilt. So, go down here. Put some lubricant here. So this is on the assembly lube, so we're using Torco assembly lube. I also have some driven assembly lube, racing stuff. It's supposed to be better. Yeah, haven't used it yet. Don't know. I've been using this since the 60s, so pretty good with that. Considering we're into 2017 now, we're doing this video. That's a couple years. It's a pretty good track record. You don't just change stuff because someone come out with something new and improved, they claim. It needs to be proven that it's better before you do switches. Just like on my oil. I like Maxim oil, always have, been using it for 30 years. Good stuff. Tribodyne's a little bit better. That's why we're using it. But I still sell the Maxim because you need a mineral oil also, as well as the fancy stuff. You've got to break your motors in first before you put the good junk in there. So there's always a reason why you do stuff. At least there should be. Price does not dictate quality or anything. Okay, that's lubed. Do the same over here on the bearing on the case over there. Okay. You want to make sure you put the bearing spacer here in. That's this piece right here. Now the reason you want to put this in there, too big, because this is what separates the Timken bearings, and it's very important to have that in there. If you watch that buyer beware video I did, they ran the motor without that and they destroyed it, and guys didn't like how I fixed it. Oh well. So make sure you always put your bearing spacer between your Timkens, or you will have a lot of issues real quick. Now these are not pressed on, they are pulled on, or in this case pushed on. They call it pull, but you're actually pushing. So you're pulling on the shaft because this thread's on the end of the crankshaft. You got your clear spacer, and this here nut here threads down this, and it pushes the bearing on. So it pulls here and pushes here. Either way, the bearing goes down. And this is too tall to fit in here, so that means the spacer's in the way. So I actually have to take my tool apart, which is very rare. I purposely made this longer so it would work. So modify my tools. The reason I have to do this is because I already got the Timken bearing in that left case, and painted Timkens are really hard to put together. I actually have to put them in a hydraulic press to assemble the left case all the way. Now I use a Torrington thrust bearing right here to take the load off the tool. It's like your clutches on late bikes. So we pull all that off, put our tube back on, put the bearings back on. That's thrust washer, bearing and thrust washer. check on it. Now it should fit. Oh, look at that. It fits. So you got it threaded on the end of the crankshaft. Then you pull the bearing down. You got to make sure the rods are over the case hole where they belong. Two rods in one hole is not good. So if you feel any kind of binding, stop and fix it. Find out what the problem is. Okay. This has a lot of drag on it right now because it actually has a seal and everything in here right now. So it's a false illusion on how tight it really is. Space it back. Alright, back like we started. Let's see here. Camera's in the way again. Okay, now I get to carry this thing back. It's nice and heavy. Alright. Who needs to go to a gym? Every day is a gym around here. Okay, I'm not going to goop this up right now because I'm doing a test fit to make sure that the bushings that we just did are correct. So everything's clean, ready to go together. We're just not going to do the final sealing just yet. We'll come back and get that next, after everything's proven to be good. So we're going to re-lubricate our bearings. Lubricate our case race. And do our cam needle bearing over here also, because it's dry now. You definitely don't want it to be dry on startup. Okay. Then I go ahead and put it together. Get the oil off my fingers so I don't get my tools and everything full of grease and oil. Okay, just to get all like it's supposed to. Okay, this is the long bolt. Goes over here on this side. Short bolt. Here. Okay, I get our two dowel studs. If you watched the video, I told you about that already. So you get to pick out where all your studs go. So the big fat ones are your dowel studs. And the bottom two holes. We're missing a dowel stud. See, it's not there. No, it's still laying on the bench over there. See how thick it is compared to these? Okay, on the generator motors, the next longest stud goes right here in the front. And the short one goes in the very back of the case. And then these two here should be the same length. Sometimes they're slightly different, about 1/8 of an inch. So easy if it's a little bit longer. It goes in a center V-bolt right here. Because easy to put a carburetor support, speedometer cable bracket, other stuff laying on there. So that's why you do that. Okay, so for now, the one without the washer goes in the very back. The bolt's too short. And then this one here goes right to center V, which is a tight fit. We get a plastic hammer, not wood, not rubber, not rawhide, plastic. You got soft and hard. That's why they're color coded. There's a difference. You can tell which side gets used the most. The reason I don't use all them other type materials is they have no bang. Use a hammer, it's nice if it actually does something, not just bounce. Some people don't understand that. Okay, I always tighten with two bottom ones first. Don't let the rod just bang against the case, you can avoid it. Try to keep the nut threads equal on both sides, so that how much is hanging out. And you do the top center V is the last one you do here. Last of the three anyway. These are the three doweling parts. These are what dowels them what case together. Okay, after you get them lightly pulled in, I go ahead and do the two 3/8 big bolts here. You run them in. Okay. Torque on these. Last one. No, there's no last one. We already did that one. No, we didn't do it. Okay, that's tight. Okay, now these other ones here, the one up front, the two back here don't really matter for mock-up. If you want to tighten them up, you can. They're not really necessary. If you want to tighten up any one more at all, you do this one right here because it actually does pull the cylinder deck in, so it actually does a little bit. Other than that, it's not really necessary to do the other ones. They're kind of there for show. Okay. So now your decks are all pulled in on all three locations. The dowels are all in, and the big bolts are all in. So the case is pulled in flat and square now. Now the crank should turn freely. Freely means see how it comes back on its own just from the flywheel weight. That's what you want to see. So you want to make sure that just the weight of the flywheel removes these things back. When you rotate them, they should rotate smoothly in both directions with no binding. Nice and free, see? Alright, so that's what you want to see. Okay. Now I'll get the cam cover on here. Mock up. Cam washer in here someplace. Hopefully. Of course, I'm not seeing it. There's a lot of stuff in the box over here, see? Of course, none of it's what I want right now. There's the cam washer right there. Whoop, that's what we're looking for. Thanks. glued together from oil. And I don't like putting dirty parts on a clean motor, so I'm just going to go ahead and wipe it off with a rag, but I will run this through the cleaning tank, make sure it's completely clean. Okay, so I need at least one washer. This is the thrust plate for the cam. Goes right here. There's another thrust washer that goes like this, but I don't need that for mock-up for what I'm doing right now. We'll need that later, but right now. Now this has two tits on it, and it's cutaway. If you look at the case, on the early stuff, you can see how the case is cut away in here. So there's a reason for that. Get a closer view. So the lifter blocks are right up against this area here, the lifter, so you need the room. So if you put the washer in like this, the lifter will catch on it and not return all the way down, which will cause valve clearance and issues. So this goes on here like this. Now we don't have any kind of a pinion gear on here right now either, which wouldn't hurt to have. Here's our breather valve right there. So let's see if we actually have any kind of a breather gear in here. I'm seeing nothing in here in the way of a breather gear. Not breather gear, excuse me, cam drive gear. Appears to be missing. That's always a wonderful thing to have. Okay, so that means we're going to just have to play this by ear. The gasket. These are 4-man material gaskets. I don't like using those, and that's not the right one. See, that's for a Sportster. You don't even have a big twin gasket sitting here. I like using the paper ones for mock-up because they don't move around. Alright. So it looks like we're missing parts. What a wonderful thing. No parts. Alright, I gotta go find me a gasket. We'll be back. Okay, we're back. Went ahead and dug up the pinion gear. Nut. We can rotate this thing and get an idea of how much load we got on everything. Okay, that's just for mock-up. Nothing. We're probably not even going to use those parts, but they're in there. Okay, I grabbed the paper gasket right here. This one's pretty thin feeling, which is alright. Okay, this is dry, there's no oil on everything, so if there's any kind of binding, it's going to be noticeable. I could have used a hammer if I wanted. Okay, and the crank rotates, that's a good sign. I need the screws. Over here somewhere. See, right on the very bottom. No. Next to the bottom. No. Yep, there they are. Brand new screws. You might as well see if they're going to fit while we're at it here. I think the camera's too close. There, back up a little bit. Okay, just like before, we're going to put a few screws in here. Not too many, just enough to do the job. That'll be enough. See if the new screws go in the holes. That'd be a plus, huh? Oh. We're dealing with a gasket. Don't put anything together until you get all the holes started. So the gasket has to be moved. lift the cam cover up a little bit so I can get the gasket up enough to get the screws to start. The gasket's not being glued down, so it's free to float around. So it floated away from where I wanted it to be. Okay, once we get all the screws started, golden. One tight. Two tight. Three. 4, and our 5th one. Okay. Crank does move, that's a good sign. And the flywheels are just not quite heavy, just not quite heavy enough to float up on their own, but it's coming, it's trying to. Now the cam, okay, I can slide it freely, so I know the cam's not binding. Yeah, let's get this camera off the tripod. I hate this damn thing. The light went off. Light's back on. Okay, camera's too close, camera's too far away. There, we can see again. Okay, here's our cam. So there's how much drag we got on it. See, that's why it's all line ring. Even though it's a real tight fit, it's perfectly aligned. But you don't just trust in one spot. You check it all the way around the whole all the way around. So it's not binding at all. So that's good. Now we have a lot of steel drag over here, but it shouldn't be too awful bad right now. So the only binding right now is the pinion shaft down inside in there. So you can see it's not binding a lot, and it's even. It's got even drag all the way around. So, pretty good. And we're dry, there's no oil on anything, so this is going to be your maximum binding right now. Okay, so we burnished it around a little bit so we can pull the cover off and look at it and see if there's any marks on the cam cover. But for now we're pretty good. And the breather valve is down here. It's free too. And that's the clicking of the cam teeth down there. So I'm taking my finger, I'm going back and forth like this, checking backlash on the teeth. You can hear that noise. That's basically the two teeth in here going back and forth like that. That's what you're hearing. So you got quite a bit of backlash in here, so you'd probably hear that run and be click, 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 sound like loose valves all the time. So if it's too tight it whines, if it's too loose it rattles and makes a lot of noise. So there we go on that. So we know the pinion gear is loose, but that was in the junk box anyway, so I took it out of. We were going to replace it anyway, so I got to put this back in a couple more times to get all this stuff fitted. This is just an initial mock-up to make sure the bushings aren't too tight, so I can seal the cases up for real and bolt it together. So let's go ahead and take the cam cover off real quick. See if we get any kind of marks on anything. So we call this a dry mock-up, is what I call it. Now you can do this without the cam, with just the cam by itself, no crank in it. There's all kinds of different ways to mock stuff up. If you think there's too much drag right now, you can go ahead and take the cam out because it obviously wasn't dragging, but just check it to make sure. And sometimes it does, you don't know. Now to get these covers off without damaging them, take your hammer handle, stick it inside here, get a little rap with the hammer, and pulls it right off. See, it splits it apart right here in the parting lip. And you only got two dowel pins, one's here, one's down here. That's what's keeping it from coming off. So if you pry on it, you go right down to where the dowel is, and you come up on it a little bit. And you're off. Cam wants to come with it. There, wiggle it. Cam don't come off. Okay, now you look down inside your hole here, see if there's any kind of heavy burnishing mark. So that'd be a real heavy rub mark. Right now you got, there's some reamer marks in there, so it's got circles going around. If those are buffed off smooth, that means it's burnished in real hard. That means it's rubbing real hard. I don't see any place where it's doing that. Take the gasket off so you don't tear it. Cam out so you don't drop it. Now you look on the end of your stub here, your shaft, and if you see any kind of marks, transfer, metal will transfer, it'll get gold. If you see anything that looks gold on the end of the shaft, you know it's rubbing pretty hard. Now this has a little bit of solvent residue on it. So what you do is just wipe that off. You look for any kind of transfer marks, and if you see there's no marks on it at all, it's nice and smooth and clean. So it's not tight on that thing, it's not burnishing or anything. So that's a good sign. So as far as I'm concerned, go ahead and take this back apart and we'll go ahead and goop this all up. But right now I gotta get out of here, so we'll continue with this tomorrow. That's it for tonight.